Welcome back to another episode of the Azure Enablement Show. This is part of a short series about the Azure Landing Zone Terraform module and how it can help you to not just accelerate your deployments of landing zones, but also help you operate your cloud resources at scale. Welcome back. My name is Thomas, and I'm here with Kevin and Matt from the Azure Landing Zone team. And we're going to talk about the Azure Landing Zone Terraform module. And so, Matt, can you tell us how customers can get started deploying Azure Landing Zones in their own environment using Terraform?
Sure, Thomas, no problem. We've actually got a series of implementation options documented on the CAF documentation site in the ready section. So if we bring that up now, you can see this page here, landing zone implementation options. And if I go to the section in question, you see we've got a number of ways of doing it, including using ARM and Bicep. And at the bottom here, you've got the Azure Landing Zones Terraform module. If we click on that link, it takes us to this page here, which describes how to use the module and has a link to some of the prerequisites.
I can see there are a couple of options there for customers to use. Can you tell me a little bit more how that works and how customers can use those?
Yeah, of course. In addition to the ALZ Terraform module, there's also a community solution which acts as kind of a wrapper around it and also enables other deployment options. You can find more information about the differences between these two approaches at this page here, which is on the screen. And if you scroll down, there's a selecting the right approach for Terraform option where we give prescriptive guidance on which option might be best for you.
Perfect. No, that's amazing. That's very good. Like, it's great to have that documentation. So Kevin, if I'm now interested, I'm a customer and I'm now interested of using the Terraform module, how do I get started?
That's a great question, and we're really excited to be here today to tell you a bit more about that. Basically the module can be found on the Terraform registry. We've chosen to use the Terraform registry because we feel this is a great way to make it available to all of our customers. You can actually find this via one of our short links, aka.ms/alz/tf. And on here, you can see some of the reasons why we use the Terraform registry. So we've got information here about versions, so customers can get version control when selecting which version of the module to use. That in turn gives them some additional benefits as well in terms of being able to have options to stay up to date with the latest versions of the module. Because as we work on the Azure Landing Zone solutions, we're often making changes, we're adding new features, or we're fixing bugs. And Terraform really provides a great story around how a customer can keep their environment up to date through the module.
No, fantastic. And I believe that's absolutely a great approach. Are there other ways to consume the module?
This is actually quite a common question we get from our customers. There are customers who have concerns around security and maybe don't want to consume directly from a public registry. So they'll come to us and ask us what are the options available to them. Generally, we'll try to recommend always consume the module as a module. I think some customers maybe try to take a copy of it, so they might clone the repository or take a forked copy, and then they'll try and work on it locally and edit it. We actually quite strongly advise against that because the module was designed to be configured, not customized. Terraform themselves, HashiCorp, provides some options through Terraform Enterprise and Terraform Cloud, where you can create your own private registry. So we'd look at talking customers through the journey of taking a copy of our module from the public registry, taking it through their internal security vetting processes, and then copying it onto their own private registry for consumption within the business.
No, that makes sense. So that's a great way of using it, obviously, in your private enterprise environment, right? So Matt, how would customers go and learn how to actually customize their deployment? We talked about it's not designed to be changed, but actually to customize the deployment itself with parameters and so on. Can you tell us and show us how that works?
Sure, yeah. There's a lot of customization available in the Terraform module that we've written. So if we have a look here at the wiki, we've put a lot of effort into here to this wiki, which is hosted in the GitHub repo. So we start by showing you what type of resources we deploy in the module, and we've given a set of ever increasing complexity examples. So we start with the basic stuff, what we call level 100, and as we sort of evolve through level 200 and 300, we get to creating custom policies, for instance, and deploying management resources with custom settings. So it's really a journey we want to take you on, from deploying the ALZ reference architecture as is to being able to customize it completely for your environment.
No, fantastic. I love how we have these different levels, and we start with the easy stuff, right? If you get started, you can start with the easy things, and then you go deeper and deeper into it and make the more complex or more customizable stuff as well. So that's great. So obviously, I want to see the module in action. Kevin, can you show us the module in action?
Of course. So I've got some content here ready to show today. So we're going to start off within the examples page. And for today's session, we're going to look specifically at one of the base configurations. So this really is your starting point for how to get going with the module. It talks through some of the basic concepts. And in the later videos in this series, we'll go into a few more detailed configuration options for this. But when you're kind of first getting started with this is a really great way to get started with this. So within the wiki, you can see we've got the examples that Matt just mentioned. And under level 100, we've got the deploy default configuration. And within here, we've got a set of demo code. Now, to get started, I mean, it really is as simple as take a copy of this, move to your preferred editor, paste it in, save it, and run it as per any other Terraform module. All of the information you should need to get started is in this example code. Now, to help us a little bit, we've kind of shown this in a real world environment. We've already deployed this and got it ready so that we can show a customer what this looks like. So if we launch the Azure Cloud Shell and have a look at this here, what I've done is I've gone into our demo1 folder where we've actually saved the content of that main.tf file, and you can see the code all here. Now, in terms of the actual module declaration, it's a really simple starting point. And if I just quickly talk through some of the stuff we've done here to just make it a little more personal for the customer, we've taken the default client configuration. So this will just use the default context that the user's logged into the platform with at this point. But what we have done is we've pulled in the tenant ID so that we know that we're going to deploy everything under that particular scope. We've set a custom root ID, and this helps the customer to do a couple of things. It gives them their own personal identity when they're deploying Azure landing zones. So in our examples, you might see things like Contoso on a lot of our documentation. This would be what you replace Contoso with. You put your own branding in here. And this root ID is really important because this actually becomes a part of the unique naming that's generated through the module as well. And I'll show you that in the actual portal as well. And then the root name, this is just used to name the top level management group. Now, to get going on this, like any other Terraform module, you would save this, you would initialize your module, and then run Terraform plan, review the module output on what resources are going to be created, and then you'd run Terraform apply to actually go and create those. So this can take, depending on your configuration, sort of anything from 5 to 15 minutes for a base configuration. For more complex, it can take well over an hour with some of the networking resources. So to just help speed this up, as I mentioned, we've got the environment already deployed here. And you can have a look here and see how some of this looks in practice. So let's click into the Azure Enablement Show Management Group. Here you can see the AES Demo1 prefix that we mentioned earlier on the root ID. And each of the management groups in the hierarchy have been given this prefix. This is very similar to what you'll see through the portal-based experience and if you're using Bicep. Where we've been slightly different with this is we've pared back a little bit what you get out of the box. And that's because we recognize that all customers are going to be different. And because of the way the module works, it's easier to add on and build up your configuration rather than us throwing too much at the customer in one go. So you'll see we've got placeholders here for connectivity, identity, and management as part of the platform. But for landing zones, we've actually left this empty for today. Again, we'll come back to this in a future episode, and we'll actually talk about how you would start to move subscriptions into this hierarchy and how you would start to customize and extend the hierarchy to add your own custom management groups. But before we do that, let's have a look at some of the policy, because this is a really important part of what the module does for you as a customer. So if I click over here in policy and we go down to definitions, you can start to get an idea of the scale of some of the stuff that we've actually implemented through this module. So as you can see on this page, we've got a number of custom policies that have been provisioned by the module. This will be a mix of policy definitions and initiatives. And these are all located in the intermediate root, which is where, through the guidance, we recommend putting your custom policies. Now, this will work throughout your environment now. So because of the way resource hierarchy works and the way you get inheritance, you can now consume all of these policy definitions anywhere within your hierarchy to create the assignments. And everything you see in here will be consistent with what you would get from the portal-based experience, which is built on ARM, or the bicep experience.
Now, this is fantastic. I always, again, like just going way back, is like it's always great to see what we can do with this infrastructure as code approach to actually like deploy all this. When we figure out like, hey, there were times when you needed to write all the automation by yourself, or you needed to go and build all that by yourself, and you can now make sure that you're actually following the cloud adoption framework. So absolutely fantastic. And especially for customers now who are very familiar with Terraform, they can do that super easy using the Terraform module. One question I have is, like I always get, if I now want to get started, do I need any special permissions or what are the permissions I need to have to actually go out and deploy that?
That's a brilliant question, and one that we come up with quite often. Matt, I'll pass that one over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. We actually have this question so much that we've got a dedicated wiki page on it. So if we just bring that up now, you can see, because of the range of resources that we're deploying, we've come into some detail here about the permissions that you need at the management group layer. Okay, so before you get started with the module, highly recommend that you review this page and make sure that the identity that you're using to deploy it has the permissions that it needs.
Oh, perfect. Now, again, nothing better than good documentation on that side. So obviously, if I'm now interested and I want to get started with this, I would obviously not watch the other next episodes we are releasing on that topic. But Kevin, where would people go to learn more about this?
I think the best place for our customers to start is always going to be on our short link, aka.ms/alz/tf. From here, this will take you to the registry page. From the registry page, you can get to the modules repository on GitHub. And from there, you can get to all of the content that we've published through the wiki, including our examples that we showed today.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Matt and Kevin. It was great to have you in this first episode. And for everyone watching, thanks for watching. Make sure you check out the next episodes and make sure you also check out aka.ms/adopt.